Hello, it's Independent Reminded with another. I'm just kidding. My eyes might do this because this is new technology. It's new technology I just started using. I'm also wearing glasses, real glasses, not the sunglasses that you see. So my eyes might be twitching out. Don't pay attention to me. If you watch video podcasts, it's kind of weird. But finally, I told you guys that I would be back making video podcasts, and I wasn't lying. I swear I had full intentions to do it, and I'm back. Back. This is going to be the normal. It's going to be the norm. There's going to be, as just like there were before, there's going to be video versions available on Spotify, all the platforms that allow video, and going to start putting them on YouTube again. We'll see how long that takes. I have one strike from the past, which should be deleted because it was. So back during the pandemic and towards the end of the Trump presidency and a little bit afterwards, I believe I got a lot of warnings maybe about COVID disinformation, like every single one of my videos, even if someone sneezed within a block of my house, they were like, oh, this could be COVID disinformation. Let's put a link to the CDC's totally not bought and paid for Chinese website. There's even, I'm pretty sure, it doesn't matter. Just because there's an option to have the entire website in Chinese, as well as places you can contact members of the Chinese government. That doesn't matter. Anyway, I got one of my video podcasts taken down in the past, which is why I hadn't been posting to YouTube, because I was angry. I appealed it, but it was for spreading dangerous misinformation about the COVID, not about COVID, about the 2020 election. And I went back and reviewed it just to make sure, because I've been open and honest about my opinions. I do not believe that there was enough widespread voter fraud to have changed the outcome of the 2020 election. I've seen some more evidence recently, but of course, like always, I've always stated, yeah, there is disinformation. There is voter fraud. There's a lot of different forms of voter fraud as well. It's not just the outward examples like people finding, trucks showing up late at night when nobody's around, unloading ballots, or cars being found with trunks of people's ballots in the back of their car, which is illegal. You can only turn people's ballots in for them for I think 10 people or 5 people, depending on the state and the county, whatever. Sometimes there are other ways to overturn elections, influence voters, which is clearly done through the media. My lip is twitching. I'm not really looking at this myself on here. I'm actually looking at the Chrome tabs that I have open. Anyway, one of the ways that I could truly understand, the outrage of a Trump voter, or just an independent voter who happened to vote for Trump, or a MAGA person, of course. I mean, everything that happens, in opposition to MAGA, in opposition to Trump, obviously is going to get a lot of slack. It's going to get a lot of pushback. They're going to get conspiracy oriented about it. Anyway, the main gripe people should have with the 2020 election is the lack of transparency when it comes to actual voter fraud. There's been, like I said, I'm a small creator. I only have an audience of about 300 to 400 people. When you combine everything, most of my followers come from Apple and Spotify. And then YouTube, my audience was not very big. Most of the people who watched it were not subscribed. They probably were coming to hear horrible opinions, just to cringe at them. But that being said, the thing that people should be most outraged about, regardless of your political standing, is the actual misinformation that is put out by the media. And they should be allowed to put it out there. But we should also be allowed to send death threats. I'm just kidding. We should also be allowed to speak against it without threat of losing our jobs, without threat of losing sponsorships, without getting your videos taken down, even if you're a small nobody knows you creator like myself. Why I brought this up, I'm not really sure. But if you can see, the background of this video is it's a good map, good place to buy a house and build a shelter. Supposedly, I mean, this is Daily Mail. If you click on Daily Mail, I'm pretty sure you have to pay to read the article. But this is supposedly the best places that you should go to, places to buy a house to survive a nuclear war. So forget the fact that you probably can't afford to buy a house right now, especially not in most of these, well, some of these places. Florida, maybe. In the rural areas, probably affordable. Rocky Mountains, forget it. California, forget it. Midwest, absolutely. Nebraska, absolutely. North Carolina, it's starting to raise in cost and popularity. North Carolina is not bad, but I wouldn't go to the United States. I wouldn't get on a plane if a nuclear bomb dropped. I don't know if planes would be working at that time. And I also don't think that a lot of these places would even survive. I don't know. I'm not a nuclear scientist, but anyway, I just thought it'd be funny to keep this in the background because there's so much, even politicians, that you hear about that, they don't seem to care about pushing us towards the brink of nuclear war. Like today, many NATO countries, I think as of yesterday or Friday evening, most NATO members are approving of the United States giving permission to Ukraine to use their missiles to strike inside Russia. This is something, there's a video of a reporter, a journalist asking Putin, what does this mean? And he was basically saying, then that means we're at war with NATO and the United States. So it's kind of funny. A lot of politicians, they don't seem to care about pushing us towards the brink of nuclear war because they have shelters, bomb shelters they think will protect them. I highly doubt they will. I really don't think AOC's bomb shelter, her nuclear fallout shelter, is going to actually work. Anyway, before we get into the episode, hope you guys are doing well. And I want to make a correction from my last episode. I accidentally confused my extremist terrorist attacks because there have been so many recently in Europe. The top terrorist organizations, like the top 75 or 100, all belong to a certain extremist wing of a certain ideology or religion or spirituality, whichever you want to say. Take that and make of it what you will. I confused my extremist terrorist attacks. The Palestinian flag wrapped around the waist of the guy with the handgun was France, not Germany. Germany was a stabbing attack. In France, I believe the guy stabbed people and he also had a gun on him or something. But that makes it okay, obviously, so forget it. There was another stabbing in Germany after that. This time it was a crazed lunatic woman. Not many details came out about it. I didn't care to look into it because I think there was like 3,000 stabbings in Germany last year, so it's hard to, it's easy to mix them up. So forgive me for my oversight. I'm not a journalist. I just take what these journalists report and I talk about it and I scream into the void about it. I would never call myself a journalist because I have self-respect and I'm not a piece of trash. I have a real job and yeah, I would not call myself a slur like journalist. Anyway, first thing I wanted to talk about, the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland, which I have there. It's kind of weird. Sometimes they play into this, fascist, a little bit too much. The fascist, the title. I guess when you've been called fascist, when you get called Nazi, when you get called neo-Nazi so much, you might as well just play into it. The Alternative for Deutschland won their first state election. This was 2 weeks ago, 13 days ago. On the article was written by Axios. September 2nd, they won their first state election in Germany, which is the first time that a considered far right group had won an election since the good old days of the 1930s, when the Nazi Party actually existed and they were actually doing crazy things. But it turns out, crazy idea, but it turns out, who would have thunk that when you disenfranchise people and you try to make their political party illegal, it actually energizes them. It actually energizes disenfranchised people when you ignore them, but actually worse than ignore them, when you antagonize them. You ignore them, you antagonize them when they feel desperate, when they've tried to vote for decades, and the problem has not only not been addressed, it's gotten worse, and you've been told to ignore what you see, ignore what your eyes tell you, ignore what your ears tell you, ignore what ignore the fact that you saw someone on YouTube get their head cut off by a terrorist, an extremist. Turns out that actually backfires against governments, except that's yet to be seen if it actually backfires against governments, because in the UK leadership is still continuing to do the same thing. They're ignoring the actual issues. They're condemning the reactionaries, as they should. You should condemn violence in any form, but the keyword is any form. You have the Prime Minister of the UK, you have Prime Ministers the Prime Minister of Canada is famous for only speaking, only making tweets, only giving press conferences in response to white people's uproaring, the truckers, the trucker convoy, the Freedom Convoy in Canada during the COVID pandemic. You had Trudeau calling them Nazis because there was one Fed that was wearing khakis in a blue polo, clearly a Fed, didn't even try to not look like a Fed, who threw up a Nazi flag one time for 1 second, for one frame of a live stream. And Trudeau called them Nazis. So it turns out when you ignore these people, you antagonize them, you allow them to continue to become victims and stay victims and let their family members get assaulted and killed sometimes. This backfires. But unfortunately, when people get desperate and they feel that voting and taking care of it and addressing it the legitimate way, the way that they're taught, when people get desperate, when people get emotional, when they see their family members and members of their community getting assaulted day in and day out, and they're told that they are Islamophobic or xenophobic or Nazis, in the case of the AfD, they take to the streets, they're condemned, their movement is tied to violence when the AfD has been peaceful for 99.999% of their existence, at least in this form. I refuse to tie them to the far right. I refuse to tie them to fascists. I refuse to tie them to Nazis, because as you're going to see, if you just type in AfD, or Alternative for Deutschland, or Alternative for Germany platform, you can find this website. This is straight from their website. It's a bit dated, but this is they call it the Manifesto for Germany, which I feel like they could have named it something else. But like I said, you get called Nazi so much, you might as well play into it, because it's a losing battle if you just spend your entire time saying, no, I'm not a Nazi. No, I'm not a Nazi. You're just wasting time when you could be pushing policy. So I've read through this entire thing, but all you have to do is you can just look at and I'm not saying that governments don't lie. I'm not saying political parties don't lie. But if you just look at the speeches that they give, if you look at the community events that they organize, if you listen to the speakers speak, they actually believe in what they say. And there's a reason why they've continuously gained popularity and, like I said, won their first state election. If you just look at things like this, they want to model themselves off of Switzerland. Switzerland is a very safe country. It's one of the safest countries in the entire world. It's constantly in the top 5 for happiness, for safety, for violence. They're in the top 5 for, safety and nonviolence. They look at things like this: guarantee separation of powers, limit the influence of power in political parties, reduce the size of German parliaments. This is protect victims. No data protection for perpetrators. I don't know what that means, but protect German borders. Reform the United Nations. NATO as a defensive alliance rather than an offensive alliance. See, the AfD want to protect victims. They want to model themselves off of Switzerland, a place that many point to as the greatest country in the world. They want to reform NATO, reform the United Nations, make NATO a defensive alliance because they don't want World War III. They don't want nuclear apocalypse. They want to, look at this. There's more. No liability for foreign banks. I actually don't know what that means. Strengthen law enforcement. Free, independent, unbiased prosecutors. That's a big thing. Commitment to the traditional family. Now this, I can't get behind this. I can't get behind the idea of the nuclear family, one of the greatest foundations of civilization, modern civilization, the world has ever seen. I can't get behind a two-parent household. I can't get behind two parents raising their families together, sticking together, doing things that revolutionized humanity for the past 1,000 years. I can't get behind this. I can't get behind increasing support for families. I can't get behind ending discrimination of full-time mothers. I can't get behind supporting single parents. I mean, every feminist and Democrat should love the AfD. Salute unborn and newborn children. So not only does this address the abortion issue, which is not even an issue in Europe, to be honest, it's not an issue in Europe because they still have a traditional family model sort of intact. The world is trying to damage that and destroy it, but they also want to protect newborn children. So it's not like they want to ban abortion. They want to help the kids that are born, that are put up for adoption, that struggle, single parents that struggle. I mean, the problem with today's world, which is something, this kind of ties into something that I was talking to my wife about the other day, and I posted it to social media, but I was curious as to why, because in the wake of Deadpool and Wolverine, so weird, this is so strange, why, I asked myself and I asked my wife, why do you think that this movie touched us so deeply? It's a stupid, sometimes over the top, oftentimes over the top, inappropriate, loudmouth comic book movie. Why did this hit so close to home? Why did I love it so much? Why did I enjoy nearly every second of the movie? Why did I love Spider-Man No Way Home more than a lot of people that are younger than me or older than me? It's because I grew up with it. It hit the nostalgia bone. They hit me with the member berries, but they did it in a good way. They gave us characters that we cared about, so it helped us overlook, not the best writing. But I just, I Googled, why do Gen Z people love nostalgia so much? Why are we obsessed with nostalgia? If you go to Instagram, you just type in 90s kids or nostalgia, you'll find endless content of things of people, missing McDonald's toys, missing Christmas in the early 2000s, missing old cartoons. And the explanation made complete sense to me, but it's something that I couldn't figure out on my own, couldn't pinpoint it myself. But the explanation was Gen Z kids, so people who were born the very end of the 90s, the early 2000s, we remember a time that was simpler, when media didn't invade our privacy, when it wasn't an ingrained part of our life. And we miss that time. We miss the simpler times. We're overstimulated. We're overwhelmed by the fact that we have so much access to information that you can't avoid the news. You can't avoid things going on in the world. So we revert back to simpler, more comforting times, which is why things that call back to our childhood get us so much. If you just look at every successful franchise right now, look at everything that they're putting out, it's all nostalgia. The latest move that Marvel has made, bringing back Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom to hopefully revive the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's nostalgia. Spider-Man No Way Home, Star Wars, every single new Star Wars show is a piece of garbage with sprinkled in some nostalgia. The Mandalorian, season 1 was the only good part of that show. The rest of the show fell apart. The end of season 3, I believe, they had Luke Skywalker, an AI de-aged Luke Skywalker in a cool scene. And that got a lot of people excited. You have Indiana Jones. Harrison Ford doesn't care about anything. He just shows up and he gets a paycheck. He doesn't He doesn't give a crap about any of this stuff. Everything is nostalgia based. Every franchise is going back to nostalgia because, one, they keep hiring crappy writers, but two, a big majority of their fan base, like I said, are millennials and Gen Z, and we love nostalgia. Why did I get into this? I honestly can't remember. Oh, yes. So, in today's world with access to information so readily available, it's easy to get overwhelmed or just not care. People don't have time to look into issues. I've said this as a non-insult many times before. Lots of voters only care about a couple issues, and that's the point of voting. You get to pick and choose the issues that you care about and the ones that you vote on. That's completely the point. That's the whole point of voting, democracy, republics. That's how it should be, and it should stay that way. A lot of people are only a couple issue voters, and they are surface level voters. And it's not an insult. I am the same way with some issues. There are some things that I truly just don't care about. There are some things I care more about, and those are the things that I vote on, if I do vote. That is yet to be seen because of my last experience. My first time voting was a terrifying experience. Anyway, if you know, you know. Maybe I'll rehash it leading up to the 2024 election, which is just around the corner, by the way. I want to say in 2 months' time, we might know who the new president is, except in one state that said they're not going to know until the next day. I want to say that was Pennsylvania, which is absolutely insane, by the way. We have technology. We used to know before the night ended when we didn't have the technology we have now. Anyway, I understand why people might feel that the AfD is, and I'm not shilling for the AfD. I'm not a German citizen. I can't vote in Germany, and I don't want to be able to vote in Germany. I care about what happens because I live here. I love this country. I pay German taxes. Not as much as a German would, but I still, I go to like I said, I support the local businesses. I like to go to the farmers markets. I like to go to the local restaurants, the local stores. I shop German like 99% of everything that I buy. And I'm not shilling for the AfD. I'm not getting paid by them. I'm not getting paid by anybody, actually. But that should change soon. I understand why people might look at them and think that they're far right or neo-Nazis, or why people might feel that, okay, this rhetoric is a little too close to the Nazi era, right? But I don't think the Nazis would succeed today because of the positives and the pros of the fact that we have access to information. When Hitler and the Nazi Party rose to power, they did so without the internet. They operated and they rounded up Jews and they put them in concentration camps, unbeknownst to many in Europe and even in Germany. So any skeletons that any of these AfD politicians have in their closets, which they do, it will be unveiled. But at the end of the day, if you truly care about this issue enough, you look into it, you actually listen to the rhetoric, you actually look at the events that they're organizing, you actually look at the platforms and the track record of a lot of these politicians, you find, there's some stuff here I might not agree with. I don't agree with everything I see here. This part here, let's see, close Quran schools. I don't know if I agree with that. I have to look into the details. Let's see another part. Terminate the promotion of gender research. Maybe there's some stuff to learn about genders. Maybe there are things to learn about gender dysphoria or transgenderism or things like that. Maybe there's something to learn here. You might not agree with everything that you see, but if you care about it enough, look into it. And if not, that's completely fine. Just be careful with... I just encourage people to look into issues before deciding to vote on them. If you feel strongly about something, say take two issues. You care about abortion and the border. Look into those a little farther than the headlines. Try to look at unbiased websites. There are now websites that curate unbiased headlines or headlines from both sides. Google does a good job of that. You have the option, if you read a story, to click on it and get the full story or get alternative coverage or whatever. I forget the option name, but this is, oh, look at this. No full body veiling in public spaces. Every feminist should love this. You get to walk around with your boobs out. You get to walk around with your legs showing. You can show ankles freely. I don't know. There's a lot of mentions of Islam in here, but look into these issues. Look past the surface level. The media lies. The media knows that most people do not have time, or they don't have the attention span, whether because they're brain rotted from TikTok or because, like I said, they have families to take care of. They have jobs. They're in school. They're trying to learn skills. They have hobbies. They sew, whatever. Fight back against the media. Screw the media. The media is the enemy of the people. Every single journalist that's been laid off probably deserved it. And don't call me a journalist because I'm not a journalist. You can't offend me in any other way besides telling me that I'm a journalist, because I'm not a journalist at all. I don't do the work that real journalists do. And like I said, I don't want to be lumped in with those freaks. Those people suck. I have more followers than a lot of like the New York Times journalists on Twitter, which is funny because I don't do anything except, honestly, nowadays I just retweet and then I post when I have the podcast episodes up. Anyway, look into this yourself. Just like I said, all I did this morning was type in AfD platform or Alternative for Deutschland platform, and you'll see it near the top. Read it for yourself if you care, and just know that they're not Nazis. They are not Nazis. Moving on to the next thing I want to talk about. I just wanted to briefly talk about the debate, if you would call it that, the Trump and Kamala Harris debates. Trump seemed to want to stay professional, but he also seemed to get irked a little bit by Kamala Harris, which, I mean, I was getting irked when I watched it too because she lied a lot. I was also getting frustrated with Trump because, he does the politician thing where you don't really answer the question, you filibuster, and so that way you don't give an actual answer, and then that gives the debaters, the moderators, not enough time to cover the issue, and they move on. And you've said a lot of fancy things, you've jumped from topic to topic, and then you avoided answering the question. Kamala Harris did this a lot, Trump did this a lot, every politician does it a lot. It's frustrating. It's why I hate the debates. It's why I wish that they would just have, even if you don't have a podcast with both of them on it, because that would be extremely difficult. That would be really hard on the moderator to do. It's doable. I would prefer that over the debates, or you could just have the person on individually. Lex Friedman has tried this, but I guarantee you, nobody from the Democratic side, Tim Walz, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, I don't even think Nancy Pelosi can talk for more than 5 minutes without sounding as senile as Joe Biden at this point, but not going to have Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is not going to come on. Someone like Lex Friedman, who's had Trump on, has had RFK on. I believe he's had Bernie Sanders on, or he's probably tried. The Democrats are not going to come on. So the next best thing is having individual candidates come on and press them. Don't let them get away with things. Cut them off if you have to, but also let them speak freely without having their microphone turned off, without having two moderators teaming up against you, which is what happened with this debate. I'm not going to sit here and say that Kamala Harris did not perform well. She absolutely performed well, but who gives a shit about performance? Who cares about performance? That is surface level garbage. I don't care about how smoothly you talk. I never have. Mitt Romney was a smooth talker. He has a nice, soothing voice, and he's one of the swampiest scumbag politicians that have existed in any party, especially the Republican Party. But that's like pretty common with Republicans. Republicans will try to smooth talk and screw you, and then the Democrats will not smooth talk and will screw you. But now the things have flipped. Now the Democrats are the smooth talkers, and everyone's talked about how great Kamala Harris performed. Cool, she performed well. Yeah, she performed well. The reason she performed well in people's eyes is because the standard was so low. I don't think she was, I gave her a D plus performance. It's because I had an F minus expectations of her. She spoke in that demeaning HR condescending voice. She kept doing this smirk that I absolutely despise that she's known for. She just kept laughing when serious issues were brought up, like the Haitians eating pets in Ohio, which, by the way, the most media thing happened when this was brought up. The moderator said, "Hey, Mr. Trump, we called the city manager of this city, and he said that these claims are false, and there's been no reports of this happening." And Trump said, he spoke the truth. He said, "Oh yeah, well, that was a guy that obviously would want to say something like that." The city manager's job is to bolster their record and say, "Oh, crime decreased here." If you have a city manager, under a city manager's watch, there are crimes being committed, like household pets being eaten, obviously you're going to want to shoot those down and claim that this didn't happen. So asking a politician, rather than asking citizens of the city, which there are numerous citizens of the city who have done interviews with the news, that have made posts on social media saying that it's happened. I'm not saying that all of them are telling the truth, but there's something to be looked into here. But rather than looking into it and speaking to actual people, the media did the most media thing. The slur legacy media, ABC, or whoever these losers were, whoever these scumbags were that have D's next to their name, they decided to go to a politician whose job is to lie and mislead and skew statistics to make themselves look better so they can one day be the mayor, governor, or senator, or representative, or president. So screw that guy. Screw that moderator. Both the moderators suck. They mainly only fact-checked Trump. I only recall them fact-checking Kamala Harris one time, and it was something that I honestly couldn't remember. But you had Twitter's community notes fact-checking this debate better. You had a bunch of 20-year-olds trying to boost their resume working at Twitter. These community notes people don't even work for Twitter. Sometimes they're just members of the community. I could be a community notes moderator if I wanted to. But yes, like I said, the media are the enemy of the people. A politician would never lie. They would never lie to make themselves look good. The citizens are just liars. Unfortunately, like I said, many people either choose not to or are too busy to look into an issue like this. And Trump bringing up, Haitians eating cats looks crazy to them. And they think, okay. And when the rest of their social media says, "Oh, this is a conspiracy," and you have people who aren't as good at pointing to the facts, they're not as good at, summing up arguments, it just makes it look bad. At the end of the day, this isn't something that probably most people are going to be swayed by when it comes to voting. Whether or not there are, maybe not specifically a certain group of immigrants eating cats, but it highlights the bigger issue of not having a border or having a weak border and allowing millions, tens of millions, or 20s of millions of immigrants, unchecked, undocumented, untracked immigrants into the United States. That highlights the bigger issue and the concern that people have. So, like I said, I think I've said this in the past, but even if at the end of the day, this issue is completely false, this didn't happen, there are still a group of upset voters. There are still a group of upset citizens that are alarmed by the uptick of immigration and unchecked migrants in the United States, in their communities. So you can't just say half the battle is getting to the bottom of this and addressing it. If it's not true, you still have the other half of the battle, which is putting the citizens at ease. But the current Democratic Party and the current Democratic platform is to mock these people and ignore them and call them conspiracy theorists, call them MAGA cultists, saying they need to be deprogrammed, saying they need to be re-educated. That is not a winning strategy. I promise you, the silent majority is paying attention. I promise you, the citizens are noticing these things. Yes, they might not love Trump. Yes, they may not get behind his platform completely, but if they feel a slight sliver of hope, if they feel there is a sliver of a chance that he'll listen to them, they'll vote for him. That is enough. The lesser of the two evils is alive and well in the United States. And on one side, you can have someone who talks about possibly a conspiracy theory about pets being eaten. But then you have the other side who completely labels everybody who believes that or talks about it or brings it up as a conspiracy theorist, mocks them and ignores them, laughs at them, jangles their bracelets, dances with the HR crew while writing someone up and not giving them a raise for the 5th year in a row because they're a white male or an Asian male. And those are the two evils that you have to choose from. So this is where we're at in the United States. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say Kamala Harris fumbled. She performed well. She did everything that a slimy politician would do. Avoid answering questions. Outright lie. Within the first 10 minutes of the debate, she was just outright lying, saying, this is what the Trump administration gave us. They left us with a crumbling economy. Yeah, because of the pandemic. The pandemic that the U.S. government funded. The U.S. government funded gain-of-function research in China. There was a coronavirus leak from a lab, and that shut down the entire world. So yes, that's going to cripple the economy. That's going to cause people to lose jobs because you guys shut down cities. You guys shut down businesses. You didn't shut down Amazon. You didn't shut down Walmart. You didn't shut down Target. You didn't shut down corporations that you hold stock in. No. You would never do that. But you told mom and pop's soup kitchen, it's been running for 5 generations since they got off the boat at Ellis Island, the pizza joint in Hell's Kitchen, you shut those people down. You made them lose their jobs. Many of them committed suicide, got addicted to drugs. They're homeless. They're on painkillers now. They're addicted to opiates because of you. And then the Biden administration loves to claim we created this many jobs. You did not create jobs. You did not create that many jobs. You just restored the ones that you ruined, that you destroyed, that you shut down. So within the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh, this is, I didn't expect much, but this is where we're at, huh? We're just going to openly lie to the people who, I promise you, like I said, are paying attention. Give Americans credit. While we might seem dumb, and many of us are, including myself, we tend to look into things that affect us, like the COVID pandemic. That's why you have the famous video of Dr. Fauci going to members of the community, and I want to say in New York City, asking them, hey, have you gotten your COVID vaccine? Would you like to get your COVID vaccine? And they're like, get off my porch. I'm not getting that crap. Why would I get the vaccine? It got rushed. You have that one, there was just a bunch of guys. There was one guy that was just spewing facts, yelling at them, even when they were, the camera crew and Fauci were like walking away. They were like 10 or 20 feet away, still yelling like, that came from a lab. I don't trust the narrative on this. Why would I get a vaccine that was rushed out? Do you know the history of experimenting on black people with Tuskegee Airmen and stuff like that? It's hilarious. Democrats despise normal citizens. They despise people. They discourage people from looking into things themselves. It's a Democratic talking point to discourage people to do their own research. There are numerous articles from the legacy slur media outlets calling people who do their own research conspiracy theorists. Trust the narrative. Don't question anything, because the U.S. government, science community, they've never lied to us. We don't have the food pyramid. We don't have posters of food pyramids in closets and in basements still. We don't have the lies spoken by the president of the United States himself, the head of the NIH. We don't have those lies that they spewed about the coronavirus, the death rates, the vaccines, the vaccine side effects, the effectiveness of masks. We don't have any of that stuff. Trust the narrative. Consume product. Just eat the bugs and wear masks. And everything will be fine. Last thing I wanted to speak on here. It is not. It's not something to brag about, like Kamala Harris has. to be endorsed by universally hated swamp politicians like Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, the Bushes, and Mitt Romney. Although she did it, she proudly bragged about being endorsed by 200 politicians, including Republicans like Dick Cheney, Mitt Romney, and the Bushes. That's not something to brag about. For her, it might be. That's because those are the people that have the money. Those are the people that are going to take the red dot site off of her and her family and put money into her account for doing what, and pay for her new teeth. Have you guys seen those teeth? Have you seen those old teeth that she had before she got those veneers? Rotten, disgusting teeth. What is more poetic than a rotten, corrupt district attorney, corrupt senator, corrupt human being like her having rotted teeth that she had to use military-industrial complex money to replace with veneers? Anyway, sure, for a Democrat, you might be proud now that the Democratic Party has become the party of war. And I'm not saying the Republicans are not the party of war. 99% of Republicans, besides like Thomas Massey, are in favor of continuing to bomb the crap out of the Middle East, escalating tensions with Iraq, with Gaza, with everybody that they can. So I'm not going to sit here and say the Republicans are not. They're all. The United States government is the party of war. Period. Most politicians support war. A lot of Americans support war because they don't look at it as war. They look at it as defeating Putin, defeating a dictator, fighting fascism, defending an ally. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to defend an ally. But there's a difference between that and saber rattling with the largest nuclear arsenal in the world, as well as another up-and-coming nuclear-powered, nuclear weaponized country that's also allied with Russia. So, and probably China. So, sure, if you want to brag about being embraced and being, having your hair brushed and your shoulders massaged by warmongers, war profiteers, then sure, do it. But don't be surprised when voters don't show up to the polls to vote for you. Don't be surprised when people in the voting booths are not filling in your name. Last thing I wanted to talk about, I have this article pulled up. This is from The Guardian. So a few, 6 people were apparently arrested in Venezuela. A couple of them were Americans. They were being arrested for their involvement in a plot to kill the leader of Venezuela. I want to say his first name is Nicolas Maduro. So the CIA is rejecting claims that they're involved, even though they were clearly involved in the last attempt of a coup in Venezuela. Operation Get In, 100%. It's not even something you can deny at this point. There was a U.S. corporation that was involved in training and I believe arming a fake resistance against Maduro in Venezuela. So the United States is, like I said, the CIA is claiming, we might have done it last time. We might have been involved last time. We might have been involved in overthrowing more governments than there are states in the United States. But we're not involved this time. See, look, 3 Americans, 2 Spaniards, and a Czech. Forget that we've done it before. Forget that probably these rifles that were confiscated from these plotters were probably American built, American bought, American trafficked. One of these arrestees is a U.S. military member. And here they're claiming any claims of U.S. involvement in a plot to overthrow Maduro are categorically false. The United States continues to support a democratic solution to the political crisis in Venezuela. See, they're like, we support the democratic process. We support the citizens of Venezuela making the wrong decision. Political crisis, which there is a political crisis in Venezuela. I'm not going to sit here and say that Maduro is innocent. He's not a great person. Like I've said before, most leaders of any country they have skeletons in their closet, and he's one of them. But us getting involved in trying to overthrow his government for the second time in the last 5 years is not good. Maduro not cozying up to America and willing to become an oil puppet, because look at what happened to the others that were at one point oil puppets and then ended up getting stabbed up the butt on video. You can watch that. Many of the United States government foreign leader puppets, if not all of them, have usually not met a positive end to their life. And the end to their life is premature. But like I said, the CIA is claiming that they have nothing to do with it. So, when has the CIA lied to me? They've never lied to me. They've never hidden things about, shady things that have happened in the United States, like Operation Midnight Climax, or the fact that JFK and RFK were definitely killed by the CIA. They've never lied to me. And it's okay that probably all three of these alleged plotters, most likely their computers, their cell phone records, their entire browsing history is probably there's probably squeaky clean. Just like that negative chin freak that shot at Trump. Nobody tries to overthrow the Venezuelan government for fun. No American does, at least. I can understand why maybe, neighboring countries might do it. There could be a power struggle in Latin America. But nobody from America is trying to overthrow the Venezuelan government for fun without the aid of the government, without the aid of the CIA, without the aid of the military-industrial complex. Americans don't even know what Venezuela is. They just learned about it. They probably thought Venezuela was a strain of the flu virus. Nobody knows what Americans don't know anything about Venezuela. They just learned about it. They think it's a major city in Mexico, probably. America has overthrown more governments than any other country, by far. Let's go. America. We're number one, baby. That's going to do it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the new presentation. This is 100% me. I've uploaded my conscience. I've uploaded my voice to ChatGPT, and I am now speaking to you from the void. I'm speaking to you from the internet, from the Matrix. The Matrix is cool. It's lit. I know Kung Fu. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you took something positive from this episode. And the merch shop is still up. I encourage you guys to, especially now with fall weather coming. I know it got cold really fast here in Germany. It went from, we were having high upper 80s to lower and mid 90s, 90-degree weather a couple weeks ago, it feels like. And now it's 49 degrees. It's raining. And, fall is upon us. So I encourage you guys to go to the merch shop that's posted in the description. And I encourage you to get some merch. Get yourself a beanie, get yourself a hat, get yourself a mug, hoodie, pullover, I think. Oh, sorry, it's a cardigan. I encourage you guys to go buy some merch. As always, 100% of the proceeds get donated to the Child Mind Institute. I do not keep a single cent. So if you have some money to spare and you want to support the podcast, you want to wear some sweet merch, some high quality merch, and you want to support the Child Mind Institute, a nonprofit organization that's aimed at helping children and families with children that suffer from mental illnesses, like I said, click on the link in the description and buy some merch. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you took something away from it, and stay safe. Hopefully there's an episode next week because we haven't been bombed by Russia yet. Or Iraq. Not Iraq. Or Iran. Anyway, as always, stay safe. Stay away from those crazies out there. Thank you.